Hello! I hope you're having a fun, schmabulous day. This is your ELA lesson for this week. As a reminder, students are out testing, and Ms. Smith is helping get everyone through testing this week. So we are having async ELA math lessons. So this is your ELA. With that being said, read the poem, answer the question while I go through the rest of the warm-up page. I am going to read the poem out loud. So, the wacky hat. Oh, the wacky hat sat on my head. It wiggled and jiggled and turned bright red. It bounced like a ball and spun like a top. It flipped, it flopped and wouldn't stop. I ran up a hill, I ran down the street. The hat just danced to a bouncy beat. I tried to grab it, but too slow. The wacky hat just wouldn't go. So I laughed and giggled and let it be that a hat that silly was perfect for me. So, what is the main problem in the poem? Answer the question while I go through the rest of our warm-up page. Like I said, this is our ELA lesson for this week. I don't have a date for today because I don't have a date for today. My name is Ms. Smith. My email is tsmith@lsoa.org, and my number is 682-777-9474. Our class expectations, we're going to L, listen carefully so that L, everyone can learn. E, enter prepared and stay engaged. A, arrive on time. R, be respectful of your learning and learning about everyone else. And N, never, ever, ever give up. We're going to be safe with our learning. That means no sharing outside links or personal information, appropriate with our clothing, conversations, and background, friendly, helpful, and encouraging at all times, and with our environment. No distracting conversations in the chat, no distracting images in the background, and no distracting conversations on the mic. With that being said, what was the main problem in this poem? Was it A, the hat was too small? Ouch. That could be a problem. I mean, let's face it. Tight things on Miss Smith's head, major migraine. B, the hat wouldn't stay still. We've all been afflicted with the case of the wiggles from time to time. It is a problem. I can attest. C, the hat was lost. We know Miss Smith has gotten lost just going from one class to the next, and I'm just logging into classes, so we know that's a problem. And D, the hat turned into a cat. I don't know. I've never turned into a cat, but I can imagine that would be a problem. Imagine that. Which one did you pick? Was it A, B, C, or D? I'm going to pause this recording while you mark your answer. Alrighty, room. If you said B, the hat wouldn't stay still because there was one wacky hat, you, my friends, are correct. So let's keep going. This week, we are learning about the parts, characteristics, and structure of poetry so that we can understand what the poet is trying to say. Poetry, before we do that, let's go over some key vocabulary words. Our first word is poetry. Poetry is a type of writing that expresses emotions, ideas, by using sound devices and figurative language. Poetry does not follow specific grammar rules. We can see that by this poem right here. Those specks are looking cool, so bright, red, so red hot, powerful red, like the dancer with the bull. Stylish, fashion, these glasses are on spot. I mean, it was so I don't know about you guys. Miss Smith was, we know sometimes Miss Smith, closer to the end of the day, she has a hard time reading anyhow. But it wasn't following any specific grammar rules. So it was almost kind of choppy. Those specks are looking cool, so bright, so red hot. And it's So bright red, so red hot. Like, I wanted to say, like, my brain was like saying, like, so bright, so cool, or something like that. Like, but my brain was just like, it just didn't seem to flow. But that's how a poem is. Sometimes they'll be like rhyme, 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 but then other times it just doesn't flow like that. And that's how poems are. They don't necessarily follow a specific grammar rule. The next one, figurative language. About to sneeze. Please forgive me if I pause it. Figurative language. Language that means something more than just its literal meaning. So, and our example is finding a needle in a haystack. So the literal meaning would be you pick up your, this is a bobby pin, but let's pretend this is a needle. If I were to put this in this haystack and say, okay, Brooklyn, I need you to go find this needle, and in this haystack right here, if I were to hide this and like basically say go play hide and seek, find this, would you be able to do it? Probably not. That would be the literal meaning. Find this in that haystack. It would be virtually impossible to do. That's the literal meaning. Go find this needle in that haystack. But the figurative language of finding a needle in a haystack is basically trying to find something that's almost impossible to find. Doesn't mean you can't do it. It's just really, really, really hard to do. Another example would be, it's raining cats and dogs. Is it literally raining cats and dogs? No, it's just raining really hard. So the figurative language is, when we say figurative language, it's just another interesting way of saying something without it meaning that literal meaning. And then lastly, rhyme, words that end with the same sound. So in our example, the words box and fox are rhyming words. They have the same ending sound. So what are the parts of a poem? I'm going to turn on my pen. So poems are made up of specific parts. The first part that we're going to look at is the line. So a line, and this right here is the line. And when we look at the line, the first thing your brain might think of, oh, a line is like a sentence. And that first glance, yes, a line is like a sentence. We do read a line from left to right, how we read a sentence. But that is basically where the line in the sentence ends. We read it from left to right, and they're kind of broken up, like how sentences are. Like each line is kind of like how sentences, like a poem is made up of lines, like a story is made up of sentences. But that's really where the similarities end. We read it from left to right. A poem is made up of lines. A story is made up of lines. That's where the similarities end with lines and sentences. Lines and sentences. Lines are just what a poem is made up of. Sentences have to have a specific, for a sentence to be a sentence, it must have a subject, the noun, a verb, the action, and it has to make sense. Like, we can't just say cat, walk, store. I have my sentence. No, like it has to make sense. The cat walked to the store. Also, a sentence starts with a capital letter, my friends, and ends with a punctuation mark. So for a sentence to be a sentence in 3rd grade, our sentence starts with a capital letter, ends with a punctuation mark. It has to have a subject. Who or what is that sentence about? It has to have a verb. It has to have an action. That subject, that person or the thing must be doing something, and it must make sense. With a line, it doesn't have to have all of those components. My dog does. So our line, my dog does my homework. That's the first line. If you look, let me clear this off. If you look, yes, it does start with a capital letter, but there isn't any punctuation. If we look at the second line, at home every night. There's no verb. Yes, home is the noun, I would guess, but there's no capital letter. There is a punctuation mark. So it doesn't follow the rules of a sentence. So once again, the only thing that makes it like a sentence is poems are made up of lines. Sentences are made up of, or stories are made up of sentences. We read lines and sentences from left to right. Those are the only commonalities. The next one, let me clear this off. Next one, stanzas. Let me get my red highlighter. Here we go. So, stanzas, a group of lines. This is a stanza. All of this right here is a stanza. A stanza, in some ways, is similar to a paragraph. A group of lines grouped together. So a group of lines would be called a stanza. So one line, my dog does my homework at home every night. He answers every question and gets them all right. That is one stanza. One stanza is made up of 4 lines. There's only one problem. With my homework by Rover, I can't turn work in. That has been slobbered all over, sorry. So that is this poem, My Dog Does My Homework, has 2 stanzas that are made up of 8. So this poem has 8 lines with 2 stanzas in it. The last part, let me change it to green. We have rhyming words, words at the end of a line. So it's at the end of a line with the same rhyming sound. So my dog does my homework at home every night. So we have night. He answers every question and gets them all right. So we have, we have our rhyming words are not going to be on every line, but every other line for this poem, we have night and right. So there's only one problem with homework by Rover. I can't turn work in. That has been slobbered all over. So let's look in the second stanza. The only one problem with homework by Rover, I can't turn work in. That has been slobbered all over. So Rover and over have the same ending sound, so those would be our rhyming words. So, understanding poems. When you read a poem, you can ask yourself questions that will help you understand it better. Who is the speaker? The speaker is the one who narrates the poem. Just like when we ask ourselves, who is the speaker of a story? Who is the speaker of a poem? The speaker is the person who is narrating or telling us the poem. What is the poem about? What is happening or being described in the poem? Where is the poem taking place? What is the setting of the poem? The setting of the poem can change throughout the poem, depending on how long the poem is. And lastly, the how. How does the speaker feel? A speaker's feelings can change throughout a poem. Once again, that where, if the where can change, the how can change. So, My Best Friend by Abby Jenkins. Black and white, thick and furry, fast as the wind, always in a hurry. Couple of spots, rub my ears. Always comes when when his name is he hears. Loves his ball. It's his favorite thing. What's the most fun for him? Everything. Great big tongue that licks my face. Has a crate, his very own space. Big brown eyes, his moon pies. He's my friend till the very end. Sorry, I'm like, sorry, I was thinking about Millie while I'm reading it, and so then I was thinking about Brooklyn, like she's gonna think about Millie. So first, let's break down this poem. What are the lines? How many lines do we have in this poem? So let's count the lines. We have, since he has on a blue neck scarf, let's count the lines with blue. So we have one, so let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Even that one word everything would just count as one line. 11. Once again, even that one word everything totally would not count as a sentence. 11, 12, 13, 14. So we have 14 lines. Let's count the stanzas. I'm going to turn on my red. So how many stanzas or how many groups of lines do we have? So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have 14 lines and 4 stanzas. Now let's look for those rhyming words. So black and white, thick and furry, fast as the wind, always in a hurry. Black and white, thick and furry, fast as the wind, always in a hurry. So what are our rhyming words here? We're going to have furry and hurry. Couple of spots, rub my ears. Always comes when his name he hears. What do we hear? Ears and hears. Loves his ball. It's his favorite thing. What's most fun for him? Everything. Loves his ball. It's his favorite thing. What's most fun for him? Everything. Favorite thing? Everything. Great big tongue that licks my face. Has a crate, his very own space. So face, space. So look for those ending sounds. Big brown eyes like moon pies. So we have eyes, pies. He's my friend till the end. So my friend, end. So we found some of our rhyming words. Now let's talk about who is telling this. Who is the narrator of this? Who wrote this poem? So, My Best Friend by Abby Jenkins. So, Abby Jenkins is the person who wrote this poem. So, Abby Jenkins is the narrator. She's the one who's telling us this poem. What are the author's feelings throughout this poem? Is the author sad? Is the author happy? Is the author worried? I'm waiting on y'all to answer. Oh. Throughout this poem, the author is giving us information, not necessarily information, but the author is telling us about this wonderful dog. And at no point is the author saying, like, my dog ran away, my dog is sick. The author is telling us all these great, wonderful things about the dog. So the author is happy. The author is, I would almost say, like, excited to tell us this stuff about her dog. So I would say happy, excited almost. So happy, excited would be a great one. So our questions for this page is, what is the theme of this poem? The author's favorite animal is a dog. The dog is a theme of, the dog is in the poem. The author's favorite animal is a dog. The dog in the poem is fast and furry. The dog in the poem loves to play with a ball. The poem is about the author's friendship with the dog. Now, when we think about theme, almost think about message. Like, what is the purpose? So, what is the theme? Now, with message, it's going to be a longer, almost like lesson that we learn. Theme is just like 1 or 2 words. So, what is the theme? The author's favorite animal is a dog. I mean, she already said my best friends. We know, but is that like, if we were thinking about like message, would that be something we learned? Probably not. She's telling us, hey, that's my best friend. She's not telling us like dogs can be your best friend for life. Right there, with the author's favorite animal is a dog. The dog in the poem is fast and furry. No, that's not a theme. The dog in the poem loves to play with a ball. No, just telling us information. The poem is about the author's friendship with the dog. That would be a theme. The theme is telling us something, like what basically what the message is, like this friendship the author has with the dog. So it would be D. What does the phrase always in a hurry suggest about the dog? The dog is lazy and slow. The dog likes to explore new places. The dog always rushes around, or the dog enjoys taking its time. Always in a hurry. There's a song, and my brain won't remember the words to it. But I knew there's the song is just I can't remember the words to it. If you're saying C, you are correct. So your job is to answer the next 2 questions about this poem. So you have to answer the next 2 questions about this poem on your own. Let's look at this poem as a class. Cooking Class by Ken Nesbitt. I signed up for a cooking class. I thought it would be fun, but everything I made came out completely overdone. I burned a bowl of noodles. I set fire to a steak. I blackened 20 tacos, 7 pizzas, and a cake. I turned some eggs to ash and torched a piece of toast. And you don't even want to know what happened to the roast. I don't know why, but everything I made went up in smoke. I even scorched some sushi, several salads, and a Coke. My lessons didn't teach me much. There's just one thing I'm learning. I'm terrible at cooking, but I'm excellent at burning. All right. So, in the poem Cooking Class, why does the narrator say they are terrible at cooking? So because they burned a bowl of noodles, they set fire to a steak, they blackened 20 tacos, 7 pizzas, and a Coke, they turned some eggs to ash, and they torched a piece of toast. I just realized I didn't add an answer choice there. It should say mark all that apply. Mark all the answer choices that apply. If you said it is A, B, C, and D, you are correct. Because that is why the narrator says that they are terrible at cooking. They did all of that. Sorry. Based on the words of the poem, what can you infer about the narrator's cooking skills? They are excellent at cooking. They are learning to cook. They are good at burning food, or they don't enjoy cooking. Now, remember, we're making an inference. We're not, in an inference, you're using the clues, and then you're using your schema, your background knowledge. So not like, this isn't going to be like right there answers. Think about this. Are they excellent at cooking? We can pretty much like mark A off. They're learning to cook. Okay. They're good at burning food. We can see that. They don't enjoy cooking. Which one of these would be your best answer choice? Think about that. So we can see that we already see that they're learning how to cook. It's in the passage. We can see that they are good at burning food. It's in the passage. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they don't enjoy cooking. Because if I look right here I'm going to turn my pen on, right here, I thought it would be fun. But everything came out completely overdone. And then how did everything come out completely overdone? Well, I burned the bowl of noodles. I set fire to the steak. I blackened everything. My lessons didn't teach me much, but there's one thing I'm learning. I'm terrible at cooking. I don't enjoy it. So I'm saying D. We're not enjoying this. No. Mark it off my list. This is not for me. So on the next page, you're going to, there we go. I want you to answer these two questions, but I also want you to number the lines and identify the stanzas. So you will be doing that on this page. Let's look at this poem. A Bird Came Down for a Walk by Emily Dickinson. A bird came down for a walk. He said he did not know I saw. He bit an angleworm in half and ate the fellow raw. And then he drank a dew from a convenient grass and then hopped sideways to a wall to let a beetle pass. He glanced with rapid eyes that hurried all abroad. They looked like frightening beads, I thought. He stirred his velvet head. Like one danger cautious, I offered him a crumb, and he unrolled his feathers and rolled him softer home. Then, sorry, then oars divided the ocean, to silvers for a seam, or butterflies off banks of noon, leap splashes as they swim. Now, okay, this one is a tough one, and I know I just don't have the voice for it. This is an older poem. Like Emily Dickinson, she lived a while ago. So let me read it one more time. So, a bird came down the walk. He did not know I saw. He bit an angleworm in half and ate the fellow raw. And then he drank the dew from convenient from a convenient grass, and then hopped sideways to allow to the wall to let the beetle pass. He glanced with rapid eye that hurried all abroad. They looked like frightened bees, I thought, and stirred his velvet head. Like one danger cautious, I offered him a crumb, and he unrolled his feathers and rode, I'm saying that wrong, I'm sure, his softer home. No, and rode his softer home. Then oars divide the ocean, to silver for a seam, or butterflies off banks of noon, leap splashes as they swim. So, this is a tough one. I put it here because, I mean, you guys can do it. It's just a tough one, okay? So let's try it. We're working through this one together. So in line 6 of the poem, the word convenient means, so let's find line 6. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. And then he drank a dew from a convenient grass. And then he hopped sideways to the wall to let a beetle pass. So we've talked about using context clues. Look at that word. Use the clues around it to find the meaning. He drank, and then he drank a dew from a convenient grass. And then he hopped sideways to the wall to let the beetle pass. So convenient grass. He drank a dew from a convenient grass. So this is a bird came down. So, I mean, he's drinking dew from grass. So, that's a fish face. Okay, that's my fish face. So imagine you're a bird and you're drinking dew from a convenient grass. So there's my bird. That can be my bird face. So you're flying down from the tree. Does it say where he's flying down? So the bird came down the walk. And you've eaten the worm. You're thirsty now. Convenient grass. What do you think convenient means? Let's look at our answer choices. Being close by, being too wet, removed from a location, being delicious. So he drank the dew from a convenient grass. And then he hopped sideways to allow a beetle to pass. So he just had his worm, and now he's like, oh, I'm really, really thirsty. I need to get some water. Because dew is just water. So, which ones can we eliminate right away? Being removed from a situation, being removed from a location we can get rid of. Yes. Being delicious, I mean, he's thirsty, but I would probably get rid of that one. And then we have being wet and being close. Convenient. Convenience means easy, like right next to you. It's like, I'm really, really thirsty. Do, whoop. we already know dew means wet, means water. Dew is right here. He drank the dew. It already means, I'm going to highlight dew in blue. We're not looking for the meaning of dew. We're looking for dew for the meaning of convenient. So if dew already means wet, what does convenient mean? Convenient means close by. Why is stanza 1? So stanza 1 is this. Why is stanza 1 important to the poem? So a bird came down the walk. He did not know I saw. He bit an angleworm in half and ate the fellow raw. Why is this stanza so important to this poem? Why do you think it's so important? And because I want you to write your answer in, but because it's async, I'll talk out my thought process. I think it's important because it's telling us what the bird is doing. It's telling us, we already know from the title, the bird came down for a walk, but it's telling us what the bird is doing. He came down and he ate something. What did he eat? He ate a worm. And so he came down, he ate a worm. So in that thing, and then from that, like we kind of see what flows from that verse. Like he flies down, he eats the worm. Like what happens after that? So it kind of like sets up this whole, like, okay, he's eating the worm, and what happens after that? So it kind of just like sets the stage for what happens after that. So we get to see what is happening as he's eating the worm. All right, stanza 4, which is line 13 through 16. So here, right here. Stanza 4 is important to the poem because it describes how the bird enjoys being fed. It identifies the setting of the poem. It reveals how the speaker feels about the bird, or it describes how the bird carefully accepts the speaker's kindness. So let's see. Like one in danger, cautious, I offered him a crumb, and he unrolled his feathers. I guess it's my bird sound today. And rolled him softer and rode him softer home. So, does it describe how the bird enjoys being fed? Does it identify the setting of the poem? It doesn't identify the setting, so we can kind of get that out of there. It reveals how the speaker feels about the bird. Does it tell us? Is it like, I love this bird? Not necessarily. It describes how the bird carefully accepts the speaker's kindness. So it's really between A and D. So, like one in danger, cautious. Ooh, that's really important. So he was cautious at first. He was very cautious of how she was going to feed him at first. There we go. She's very cautious at first how she was going to feed him. But she offered him a crumb, and he unrolled his feathers and rode him softer home. So he was very cautious. This bird was very cautious at first, but he carefully accepted the poet's kindness. So does it describe how the bird enjoys being fed, or does it describe how he carefully accepted the poet's kindness? And I would say it is D. And finally, read lines 9 through 10 in the poem. And I have it right here. He glanced with rapid eyes and hurried all abroad. They looked like frightening beads, I thought, and he stirred his velvet head. Which of these lines does the poet use to help the reader understand what the bird's eyes look like? Sorry. A meter, repetition, simile, or metaphor. So, and we see that. Let me get my. So, he glanced with rapid eyes, like that hurried all abroad. They looked like frightened bees. So they look like frightened bees. Anything, so they're what look like frightened bees? He glanced with rapid eyes. So we're talking about the bird's eyes. So his eyes looked like rapid beats. So anytime we have anything, we're comparing one thing, so the bird's eyes, to something else, we're making that comparison. And we're using like or as in that comparison. So the bird's eyes to frightened beads, this would be a simile. And y'all should have had this in your OLS, but because this is a tougher poem, we're going with this one. All right. Answer this page on your own. So this one you're going to answer on your own. So what can the reader conclude about the speaker's attitude towards the bird? Which lines from the poem show the bird respects his surroundings? And what is the theme of the poem? So answer these 3 questions on your own. And then finally, My Shadow by Ken Nesbitt. I'll read the poem in a second, but you are going to answer what is the purpose of the rhyme scheme in the poem, and based on the information in the poem, how does the speaker feel about the shadow? Answer using a complete sentence. So, My Shadow by Ken Nesbitt. I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me, and what can be the use of him is more than I can see. He is very, very like me, from heels up to the head, and I see him jump before me when I jump into my bed. The funniest thing about him is the way he likes to grow. Not all the proper, not at all like proper children, which is always very slow. For sometimes for he sometimes shoots up taller, like an India rubber ball, and he sometimes gets so little that there's none of him at all. He hasn't gotten a notion of how children ought to play, and can only make a fool of me in every sort of way. He stays so close beside me. He's a coward, you can see. I think shame to stick nursey as shadow sticks to me. Oh my gracious, this is so small today. I'm glad I'm reading it out loud. One morning, very early, before the sun was up, I rose and found the shining dew on every buttercup. But my very lazy shadow, like an errant sleepy head, had stayed at home behind me and was fast asleep in bed. All right, so answer these questions, and I will see you at Doodles and Apple Strudels in Star Success Session Open Office. Come, do your OLS work. Love you. See you in math. Pasta to the pasta.